Yeah, so welcome back to the Tigers Minor League Report player interview series. We are pleased to be joined today by Grant Witherspoon, minor league outfielder for the Erie Seawolves right now. And Grant, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so the thing we always like to kick off our interviews with is just to get a feel for your experience growing up is your earliest baseball memory. And you were out in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I was out in Colorado. I lived there my whole life, and earliest baseball memory was we had a little park right across the street from our house, kind of in the middle of our neighborhood. It was just a little park, and my dad and I would just go over there, and that's kind of where I learned everything. And when I was just a little kid, so I just remember going over there all the time, and I always loved hitting baseballs and playing any sport really. So yeah, that would be my first memory with my dad.
Was your dad an athlete at all? Did he play at any level?
He didn't play much baseball, but he ran track. He
Uh,
was a good. He played soccer and basketball and ran track. He ran track at University of Colorado
oh,
for a little bit.
is,
So
is that how he ended up out there in Colorado, or did he also grow up in Colorado?
he grew up there too, and so did
Okay.
my mom. And he stayed there after that. But yeah, so he kind of taught me how to run as well from his track experience, and he was the athlete in the family growing up.
Well, you mentioned he played basketball. You played basketball too, and we were doing some like digging, and you look like you were a pretty darn good basketball player. Was there ever a possibility of playing basketball in college?
Yeah, there was a little bit. I was really big into basketball. Like I always loved the crowd. I always loved the fast pace of it, and I uh, I was thinking of going to play until like around my senior year of high school is when I kind of decided, I need to go with baseball. I think there's a better future there for me. But yeah, I really did love it, and I love like the aggressiveness of the sport, and had a lot of fun playing it. But I think obviously my future was in baseball.
You still kind of keep an eye on what's going on in like college basketball or NBA, or you just kind of
Yeah,
stick to baseball
I
now?
watched the NBA. I'm a Nuggets fan, and
Nice.
but I haven't really played it at all since I stopped playing it. It's kind of sad, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to be going out there, and I'll be the guy to not be able to tone it down and get hurt playing. So I just kind of stay away from it. But
Yeah,
I do miss it.
I think Aaron Boone infamously signed a contract and then blew out his knee playing pickup basketball, and I don't remember what happened, but it was a big controversy. And
Yeah, we
now
don't want that. Don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
that.
Now he's struggling, coaching the Yankees. You know what? He
Yeah.
was college teammates with Gabe Alvarez.
Oh, was he?
Wait, yeah, Gabe Alvarez is your manager, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry, I blanked out for a second. Yeah, we were last year. We went and we're chatting with Gabe, and he was talking about he's got like a text thread with all his old buddies from USC about USC
hmm
football or whatever. And yeah, Aaron Boone's in there, and like Jeff Jenkins and these other guys. But
Yeah,
I
my
digress.
manager last year, Morgan Ensberg, who played with
I
the
remember him.
Astros,
Yeah,
he was teammates with Gabe as well. So
nice.
when I got
Yeah,
traded, he kind of like said he gave him a call and said, "Hey, this guy's coming over." But yeah, it's been cool.
nice. Yeah, and so that I mean, we're going sticking with high school when. So you got the feeling that you needed to stick with baseball. Was that like were scouts coming around and poking around and saying like, hey, you might be draftable, or what's your bonus
No,
demands? No.
honestly, no, I wasn't. I was kind of a late bloomer. Like I was very skinny and kind of very raw with baseball. And
Mhm.
I even like I didn't talk to any scouts really anything. I actually probably had as many colleges want me to go to pitch there as to hit. So like I was like a very late bloomer with baseball. Like I came into college like 6'3", like 170 pounds. Like I was very skinny, just hadn't played much, and
Yeah.
hadn't gotten the gym much. But so yeah, it was more so just like I went to some big basketball tournament and where I played against real D1 players, like the
Yeah.
high end guys, and I kind of got exposed, and I was like, you know what, like I'm not trying
Yeah.
to sit the bench on a basketball
Yeah.
court somewhere. So I mean, that's when I got frustrated because I didn't obviously hated getting exposed, but I was like, yeah, I should probably hang it up after my high school career.
Well, I mean, that's impressive self-awareness, really. I would I, a lot of people would be like, no, I just had a bad, I had a bad run. But
Yeah,
I don't,
basketball's a little different. Like the
yeah,
athleticism is a little more important in basketball.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. You see these guys
Yeah,
who are like 6'8" and have a 40-inch vert. You're like, come on, what
yeah.
lottery did you win? Um, but so yeah, how did you end up at Tulane then?
It was actually a thing where I changed over to basketball or baseball like at the last second kind of. So a lot of kids these days get recruited, you know how it is like in sophomore year. And so
Mhm.
I could have gone a lot of places for baseball, but there wasn't a lot of scholarships open. So I ended up kind of just waiting until the very end for after the draft for money to free up scholarship money. So
Mhm.
actually, it was everyone always asks how I got from Colorado to Tulane, but it was a random coach. Corey Barton was coaching at McNeese State at the time. He came into my facility in Denver, and I hit with or for him at about probably 9:30 p.m. Just very random. And then after that, he made a call to the Tulane coach and says, "Hey, this kid's probably too. I don't. He may not fit for us at McNeese State, but like you should call him." And then the coach just called me and went on a visit there one day and then committed. So it was
Nice.
kind of very random, but I'm happy I did it.
Yeah, I was just looking back. It looked like you had some pretty like a pretty good team there your freshman year. I think, right? You
Yeah.
won the conference.
Yeah, that was our my best year there. That was really fun. We went to a regional at Ole Miss and almost
Mhm.
won it, but yeah, we had some good players on that team.
Yeah, one of them I believe is Jake Rogers, the current catcher
Hmm.
for the Tigers. Do you
Yeah.
keep up with him at all, or is it a freshman junior thing?
No, I keep up with him. I was at a wedding with him in New Orleans this off season,
Nice.
and yeah, I'm pretty close with him.
Huh. Yeah, and then so one of the things that Raj put in here was something about Tulane is known for their engineering programs, and you apparently have a background in chemical engineering. Is that right? Is that what you were majoring in?
Yeah, yep.
You finding that?
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties with the
No,
sound.
that's okay. You sounded. Am I sounding bad to you? You sounded fine to me.
No, my headphone just died.
That'll get you.
I'm good
It's
now.
all. It's all good. Um, yeah, I mean, was that something that just like really appealed to you, or was that more like, hey, this is what they offer here?
No, no, it was like my uncle's a chemical engineer, and I was good at math and chemistry, and it was kind of a thing where I wanted to do something challenging to where like I wasn't thinking like pro baseball when I went into college. I
Mhm.
was more so thinking like what's going to set me up for life, and then the baseball thing kind of got bigger and bigger. So yeah, I just wanted to get something I could get a job easily and what I was good at. So I just went for it, and it was really challenging, but I'm glad I did it. I didn't graduate, but I just have one semester left, so I'll do
Yeah,
that whenever.
yeah. I mean, that's the beauty about college, right? Is you can always go back. They like that stuff doesn't expire. You might forget some stuff, but
Yeah. So
like
when we had COVID, the season canceled for COVID, I did a whole semester at home from online, so
nice,
that was nice.
very cool. Yeah, and so and then you're saying you're a late bloomer. It was kind of a late bloomer situation in college too, and suddenly you get picked what fourth round by the Rays.
Hmm.
What was that draft experience like?
It was cool. So yeah, I wasn't really on the radar. It was kind of similar to like you said, a late bloomer type thing where I got an invite to the Cape Cod League, which is where you go to get
Mhm.
drafted pretty much. And then after that, I kind of had 1 year where I broke out like hitting more extra base hits, and I kind of changed my swing before that year. So it just was kind of like a 1 year thing, and then the Rays like I started talking to a lot of teams like out of nowhere. So that was really cool. And then, yeah, and then just the Rays didn't hear a thing from the Rays, but they ended up just taking me. And you know how it is on draft day, you get calls from a bunch of different teams, and it was wild. But yeah, I was happy to get drafted, obviously, pretty highly.
Yeah, every player we've talked to, I know this is fascinating to me because obviously I'm super old now and I'll never go through this process. But like, just yeah, they talk about how a team will call them up and be like, "Hey, we're going to take you here if you're there." And the pick comes up and they
Yeah,
take somebody else. You're like, "What? Why? What happened?" Um, did anything like that
yeah,
happen to
that's
you?
exactly how it was.
Yeah, that's brutal, man. I don't know how people go through that, but
But
for
it's a good problem to have, like a lot
yeah,
of people would
absolutely.
love to have that opportunity.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was watching the NFL draft with my buddies last night, and I see poor, is it Will Levis, the quarterback? He's some people
Yeah.
thought he might go second overall, and he doesn't get picked in the first round, and it's like, man, that's tough. But
Hmm.
sometimes people use that to fuel them, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're with the Rays for a couple of years. You mentioned the COVID interruption. That's what you're like your second full season. That's probably not great for development. Um, and then this offseason you get traded. How was that? How did you find out? What was the feeling there?
It was a little interesting because the AAA roster came out for the Rays, and they stopped me and pulled me aside, and they said, "Hey, you're not on it, but we have a trade in the works to Detroit. If this spot doesn't open up, something about I kind of stayed out of it, but whatever it is." And then they said you could be getting traded to Detroit in the next like few days.
Oh
So
wow!
I was actually playing with the Rays on a backfield game, knowing that potentially against the Tigers in
No way.
Orlando, thinking like, okay, this could be actually my new team. So it was cool, and it was cool that the Rays kind of did me a favor and found me a place. They said that we want to find you a place where you're going to get to play a lot, and it's going to be best for your career, rather than you come here and it's too crowded or whatever it is. Like you don't deserve that. So they really did me a solid in that, I think. And obviously I've been getting a lot of opportunity here, so I'm really happy about that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we try to make connections in our head, without being super connected to the front office. And Rob Metzler was a guy there with the Rays, and now he's with the Tigers. And so we were just kind of
Hmm.
assuming, like, hey, he probably, targeted you. Do you know if there's anything like that? Have you ever spoken to the man?
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely was.
Okay.
I heard that. I don't know. It's really not. I don't know if I should be saying
No,
that,
no,
but
so,
yeah,
so,
that
yeah,
definitely for sure. I talked to Rob, and he said he was really happy, and that when he saw the opportunity that I was available, he jumped on it. So I mean, it's nice to know him. He was my scouting director, and like I had a good relationship with him like throughout the years. I remember that he liked me a lot in the draft, and I talked to him a lot whenever he would come around. So yeah, that was cool. That when I kind of heard that Detroit, I thought about that. I was like, oh, Rob is over there, I think. So yeah, that's a good connection.
for sure. And the Tigers also acquired Dylan Paulson. I don't know if you've crossed paths with him ever. I think from the Rays organization too.
Yeah, I've never played with him, but he's like my age, and because he had some injuries and stuff. But I'm really pretty close with him, and he's a great
Nice.
guy. And I think it's probably similar situation with him. So yeah.
And so one of the things we've noticed this year is there are a lot of guys. So you were in AAA for a good portion of last year, and you're in AA this year.
Hmm.
It seems to have happened to a lot of guys in the Tiger system, or guys who are repeating levels, or it's more about finding a spot for them to play very often. Just how do you view that? Does it feel like a demotion in any way, or you understand like you just need to be able to play?
To be honest, it does feel a little bit like a demotion, but I mean, at the same time, the only important thing is that you're getting to play. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't be complaining when I have friends who aren't getting an opportunity elsewhere, or like I'm getting to play about every day. And I mean,
Mhm.
it's not like double A is like a low level, like people get called up from double A all the time. So, and if I mean, I'm just keeping in my head, like no matter if I'm in double A or triple A, like I'm not trying to get out of double A. I'm trying to get to the big leagues, however. So that doesn't change. Like my process doesn't change too much. But
Yeah.
it does. It did kind of feel like at first, like it is tough, coming to
Yeah.
the field and like I already did this level, and you kind of press and try to like dominate and do way too much. So that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that there are a handful of guys there. I mean, you're in a new locker room, so I don't know how many of these guys you know or how well you're getting to know them. But we saw a lot of those guys in Erie last year, like Adam Wolf and Chance Kirby and these
Yeah.
guys. And Austin Bergner made it up to AAA last year. He's back in Erie, and so like I feel for the guys because it does feel like yeah, like you want progress, you want to get closer. But to your point, I think you're right that players do just get called up from AA. And I feel like maybe that's what the Tigers are doing. They just want to have this kind of major league level talent at AAA and AA. And if you need
Hmm.
somebody, you call them up because we were out there. We went out for the opening series against Altoona, and we saw Drew Maggi out there. And
Yeah.
sure enough, like a week later, he gets called up, and it's like, oh, what a cool story. So Yeah, it can happen. I just, yeah, I was
Yeah.
curious about that, the way it feels, but yeah,
Yeah, part of it was because when I got traded, it was already the travel day to AAA had already been gone, so the roster's already been set, and so the Rays kind of said when they're calling around for a trade that like you're not gonna teams aren't probably gonna call some guy who's in their AAA roster playing every day and saying, hey, you're going to AA when he's already on the
yeah,
way, or like get rid of a guy where so that's kind of part of it as well. So I mean, I take it all into account when I think about it. So, but yeah, Drew Maggi, I saw that was awesome for him.
yeah,
Like I saw all those videos, and
yeah.
I remember playing against this guy. It's like 33. Definitely, you have to love the game so much to do it. And it's cool that he got that chance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, God, that Altoona a team had like 3 30-year-olds on it. I was like, man, good for you
Yeah,
guys. But yeah, so you're in a new locker room. You weren't even in the Eastern League in Double A before, right? You were in
hmm
Montgomery. So it's a
yeah,
new
the
league.
Southern League,
It's
I think.
a new group of guys. How's that going? Are you making friends? Is it all
Yeah, I'm
business?
making friends. A bunch of good guys in the Tigers org. A little different this year. It's a little colder
Yeah.
up here, especially in Akron. When we played a series in
Oh
Akron
God,
and a
the
couple
first
games
series
in
was yeah.
Erie, it's been freezing. But I mean, I'm from Colorado, so I'm used to it, I guess. But I've been spoiled in warm weather since then. So
Okay. Well,
um,
in Colorado, you'll get like 2 feet of snow, and then it'll all melt the next day. From
yeah,
what I
that's
remember,
true.
I've been
Yeah,
to
it's
Denver a
very
couple times.
sunny
So,
there. But
um,
I'll say it's cold. Like telling my dad it's so cold. He's like, well, if you're going to Detroit, it's gonna be cold, so get used to it. I was like, yeah, you're right.
yeah, that we watched that opening series against Akron, and it was like the second game there were like 20 walks. I was like, how can anybody feel the ball? It must have been like 38 degrees and windy. It's like, oh God,
Yeah.
that's not baseball weather, but you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
hmm
Um, so yeah, I mean, you've had a couple really big hits lately, a couple opposite field home runs. Are you learning to really enjoy that left field wall?
Yeah. I mean, it's an accident, but I'm happy that it went over it.
So that's funny. We talked to Colt Keith like a couple months ago, and I was talking about how like I was impressed with his hitting ability and how he could hit line drives down the left field line. He's like, if I ever do that, it's a complete accident. I'm like, all right, fine. But you still
Yeah.
there's got to be some swing mechanics that like at least you're keeping the barrel in the zone long enough that you can accidentally hit a home run to the
Yeah.
opposite field.
I've kind of whenever I'm hitting well, like I'm always hitting balls out to the left and left center. I think it's
Hmm.
just like you're through the zone for a long time, so
Yeah.
I'm really aiming for center. And then if I'm early, I pull it. If I'm late, it goes oppo. So, but yeah, I
Makes
mean,
sense.
a couple times this year, I haven't pulled a homer this year. So everyone who's only seen me like, do you only hit opposite field home runs? I'm like, no, it just happened. I don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
but yeah,
You have to catch a breaking ball, out front or whatever.
yeah.
Yank it over the wall. But yeah, that was the one game. I think he drove in all 3 runs for a win. That's got to feel
hmm
good. Um,
Yeah,
and that was, I think, the home run was the 2 outs in the eighth. I want to say it was like he was getting down
yeah.
to crunch time. So yeah, that's got to feel fun. But
hmm
we were curious about. I think our final question here was if you have any particular goals for this season. Statistic based, win based. Moving up a level, all that stuff. Anything you're really
Yeah.
working toward?
I mean, my goal coming into the year when I was going into spring training with the Rays was making an impact in the big leagues, and I
Mhm.
think that's my same goal here. So, whatever it takes for me to do that, then I'm trying to do that every day. So, I've kind of been around for a while, it feels like, and that's where I set my sights. So I'm gonna keep them there. So, I think that I can do it. So I'm going all in on it this year. So, but I mean, I know it's one pitch at a time, one day at a time. So whatever happens, is all right. But I'm gonna be locked in on it.
Nice. Is there anything in particular you're working on, at the plate or in the field?
Yeah, just the consistency of it, and I'm trying to get the ball in the air more. I had a lot of ground balls last year, and or a little more than I would like. And the start of this year, I've been hitting the ball on the ground, so I'm trying to work on getting that ball in the air because I've been hitting the ball hard. A
Hmm.
lot of my outs have been hard on the ground or like singles on the ground. When I'm hitting it hard, if I get that up in the air, it's going to be really good. So yeah, that would be something I would work on. I've been working on going forward.
Is that would that be just a small swing change, or is it more about the pitches you're swinging at, or where you're meeting them?
I think it's like just kind of my focus needs to be like almost get under it because if I don't think about anything, I'll hit a lot of like really hard low balls. But if I think under, it seems to just get the ball in the air a little, like more line drives and more fly balls that I want. So, but it's a process. Like I'm learning what the best way is for me to do that and get more production in the air. And so yeah, so that's what I've been working on and will be working on. And yeah, just a day at a time.
Cool. That's we'll be watching for that. Posting clips.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever we like to get clips up of there.
Yeah, I've seen the clips.
Yeah, well, just as a bonus question, what do you do when you're not playing baseball? I know it's the season right now, but what do you do to unwind?
I like to play golf. I like to go outside and I like to go like hiking with my friends and just like to do stuff outside. My dad and I went fly fishing, just like stuff like that. And then I like just like hanging out with friends. Really, I don't have too many different hobbies, but I mean, really just spending time with friends and hanging out and doing whatever.
Yeah, I bet you there's some real good hiking out there in Colorado. There's
Yeah.
some decent parks here in Michigan, but there's not a whole lot of elevation changes. It's pretty flat.
Yeah, some of the guys were like, "Yeah, we're going hiking," and I was like, "Where are you going hiking this?" They're like, "They just walked up this hill and then called it a hike in the woods." I guess so. I was like, "All right."
Yeah, it's perspective. But Grant, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry that Rogelio couldn't make it, but duty calls sometimes at your day job. And yeah, we'll keep watching you. Good luck this year and your team goals, and hopefully, you get that ball in the air more than you want, and we'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. It was awesome.
Absolutely, thanks for coming.